think we're in. This might be working. How do I tell who's here? This is all very new. Oh, I see a number ticking up. 4 people. Somebody type something, chat something. Oh, Siobhan's here. Wonderful. We're working. Oh, I was having a moment of panic there. Sheesh. Let me get this off. Wow. I was about to let you guys down again. Oh, I should just take it as a sign. Hello, Jennifer, Siobhan. How are we? Good, I hope. I'm good. I slipped on the ice this morning, didn't make it. But we're here. We are here. I don't know who's coming. I don't know how many people to expect. So I'll give people a minute to turn up, make sure everything's functioning properly. Can you hear me and see me okay? How is the internet connection? Tina's here. Good morning, Tina. Jennifer, I won't tell anybody. Don't you worry. There are only 4 of us here right now, so your secret's safe. What's for lunch? It's 11:30 where you are, isn't it? The tap tappies. What are the tap tappies? Am I doing something? Maybe. Shrimp and veggies. Eating early because you woke up early. Yeah. Yeah. You still got, what did you tell me, 9 hours? 9 hours of sleep? How many servings of protein do you have? Good work. Good work. Tina, how's the gym today? What are you doing? I thought you were on a new program. I don't know. Okay, let's, I don't know. Let's talk protein, I guess. It seems like I feel like a broken record talking about protein, but there's a reason we keep talking about it. Is that it's one of the biggest pieces. It's one of the biggest pieces to the puzzle. Now, when I say protein, I don't want you to envision carnivore. You do not need to go carnivore diet, full steak and eggs for breakfast, and then half a cow or half a pig for lunch or anything like that. You don't need to go mental. Just more protein than you're probably eating. Most people don't get enough. Men or women, I'll focus on the women's side of the equation here, but most people don't eat enough protein. I think it got demonized for a while. I think the elite bodybuilding circles had people thinking that if you ate too much protein, you would just bulk up. And let me tell you, I've been trying to do that for years. It's way harder than it seems. So you cannot eat too much protein. You'd be doing very well to try to get there. I think another one would be the protein toxicity. People worried about protein impacting the kidneys. If you have functioning kidneys, you're fine. You would tap out. You just couldn't eat anymore before you got sick from protein intake. Tempest is here. Leslie's here. Good morning. Now I know what you were talking about, Siobhan. That's me on the mouse, probably. Closing tabs, because like any good functioning computer user, I have generally 1 to 2 dozen tabs open at a time. Tempest, what if you only have 1 kidney? That's a good question. I think you would still be doing well to reach levels of toxicity beyond what most people could stomach in a day. Your stomach would not give out, your appetite would quit before you could eat too much. So I don't really think you have to worry at this point. Now, protein and yeah, that's me. Tap, tap. I'm going to put it away so I stop touching it. Protein and menopause. Now, I covered some of this, so you'll hear, if you saw the reel I put up a couple of days ago, thank you, Lila, for the push there. If you saw the reel I put up a couple of days ago about menopause and protein intake, you'll hear a lot of what I'm saying. You would have heard it before, but I'm going to cover it anyway because, like I said, it's important. It needs to be talked about. Your body uses proteins to build new tissues, to repair old ones, and not even old ones. That's the wrong way to say it. Your body's constantly repairing things. You have a period of breakdown and you have a period of rebuild or building up, and your entire body goes through that cycle on a regular basis. And actually, some of the challenges with menopause is that you spend more time breaking down than you do building up. But your body uses, hang on, Tina's just said something I think I need to read. Yeah, first thing to focus on is protein. Yep, it's the base of the pyramid, essentially. I'm going to get off track here, but that's the point of this, is that it's not sexy. It's not attractive on social media. You know, I talk about protein. I talk about vegetables, carbohydrates. I talk about just general exercise, get your steps in, because these things make a difference. But they're not sexy. It'd be way easier. And Jennifer and I were kind of joking about this earlier. It would be way easier. I would get so much more attention if on social media I was shirtless in a grocery store saying, don't eat this specific box of cookies because it's got chemicals in it. That kind of stuff just gets way more traction than what I'm going to talk about. And there are some weird accounts that do that, and they have millions of followers. And unfortunately, that's how they make a living. So they're incentivized to keep doing it. But for the people like myself who just want to get the message across, it's boring. But Tina's right. Boring is sexy. Can you do the same shit over and over again? So your body uses proteins to build and repair tissues, right? Muscles, organs, the whole lot, as well as to make hormones, okay? Neurotransmitters, right? Which you can think of as your body's chemical messengers, essentially, sending signals from A to B, basically. And then pieces of your immune system as well. So protein serves as the basis for a lot of things that you are. As you get older, your body becomes less efficient at making proteins. Now, proteins are made up of amino acids, and these are just different sizes and shapes of molecules, right, that we classify as proteins. There are 20 of them that are essential, that are needed for optimal health. Your body can make some of those. So it can take pieces from other things you've eaten and make these other proteins, because your body's amazing. It does some wicked things. And you can get by with those, but you need to get the rest from your diet, okay, from the likes of meat or fish, eggs, that kind of stuff. So as you get older, you become less efficient at not only making them, but also breaking them down and absorbing those nutrients. So by the time they go in your mouth, essentially, we start the digestion process, chewing, breaking down in the stomach, and then absorbed through the digestive tract. You just become less efficient at doing those things. Without going into too much depth, the fluctuating hormone levels of menopause, perimenopause and menopause do make the biggest difference there. So because of this, you need to eat more to make up the difference, right? Let's say, in your 20s, you got 100% of 30 grams of protein that you eat. In your 30s, you might get 90%. 40s, you might get 80% of that protein out of it. So on and so forth, all right? 50s, 60s, etc. So eating more to make up the difference becomes very important. 0 stars for menopause. But this is another tangent, surprise. This is something that I've really been thinking about and reading a lot about. If you saw my photo before with the 15-minute live note, I got 2 more books on menopause because I'm just everything I can, because it has such a negative connotation in this part of the world. Menopause seems to be, the end, right? Or it's looked of it as the end. Even the menstrual cycle has such a negative connotation to it. Oh, it's Shark Week, Tempest. I know that's how you talk about it to me. Like, oh, it's Shark Week, no wonder. And right, like these are humorous terms, but they also have a negative feeling to them. And the more I read and learn about it, the more I want to do my part to try and celebrate it. It's not the end of anything, but the beginning of the next thing, right? It's the beginning of the rest of your life, essentially, right? Let's knock on wood, you live a long and healthy life. It's like half of the halfway point, maybe. Average age of menopause, 50 to 54. Okay, let's imagine you live to 100. And nowadays that's definitely possible. Highly likely, if you stay out of traffic, that you will live to 100. So there's no reason to be done at the halfway mark, which is a gift. Yeah, I'd like to give my kid as a gift to someone else for a while. That's from my kid there. It's a wound. I was going to say I haven't been in a fight, but it was a fight. not a real fight with my son, but anyway. Karen, welcome. Thank you. Thanks for subscribing. And thank you, Jennifer. I owe a lot of what I'm doing now to Jennifer. So everybody just send her a message after this. Wait until you see what I'm about and if you like me or not, and then you can decide what kind of message you send her, because she deserves a lot of credit. Shrimp at the same time. So as you get older, you become less efficient at making, digesting, and absorbing protein, which is why we need to increase our intake. Protein is the macronutrient that takes the most time and energy to digest and absorb. Okay, so because of that, having a higher protein, a higher proportion of your dietary intake of your food that you choose to eat that is protein, means that you are less likely to overeat the other stuff, which is the basis of most of, I feel like a fraud saying most of America's problems, because I'm not an American. I've lived here for a couple of years, but I still feel a little bit of a fraud saying that. But most developed nations' problems are we're just eating too much food. All right. And protein is one of those things that is lacking in the diet. When you eat more protein, you just don't have the need for a lot of other food. It still has its place. You still need vegetables, carbohydrates, fats. You still need those things, right? We have enough evidence to say that we shouldn't go without them. Okay. Anybody who tells you otherwise, just smile and nod and kindly go and do something else. But you need more protein. When you eat more protein, you will feel more satisfied at mealtime. Okay. Your body is working hard to break it down. It takes up more space. It takes longer to digest. Think of a campfire, and instead of putting a bunch of twigs and kindling on every 2 minutes, there's a log. Big log burns for a while. Okay. So protein is important to regulate your appetite and your energy intake, right? Which is important for weight management. And yes, I know not everything is about weight loss, but it is one of the most common things that I run into as a coach. 19 out of 20 people, I need some help losing weight, right? There's no shame in it. There's no shame if you don't want to lose weight. Nobody has to lose weight, but weight loss is a very common one, and I want to accommodate for that as well. So protein intake, regulate your appetite, regulate your energy intake, make it easier to manage or be at a weight you want to be at that feels good for you. Women who eat more protein generally have higher levels of muscle mass and bone mass and lower levels of body fat. Now, this is a big one. And again, I touched on this in the reel earlier in the week. It's not about the way you look here. Like, yes, when you look a certain way, it doesn't have to be the conventional magazine cover. When you look a certain way, you feel good, and feeling good about yourself is fantastic. But having lower body fat means lower levels of generally inflammation, lower levels of visceral fat, which is the fat around your organs, okay, around your heart, liver, all of that stuff, all of the important bits. So lower levels of visceral fat, it's a goal you should strive for. It's just something you want. Lower levels of visceral fat, lower levels of all-cause mortality, essentially. So aesthetics aside, you don't want to be storing too much body fat around those pieces. I see a few new names pop in. Hi, Brian. Hello. I'm glad you're here. And Kathy. I don't know if I've said hello to you already, Kathy. I'm sorry, but welcome. Wow, we are 29 people. This is fantastic. Thank you for being here. This means a heck of a lot. After about the age of 30, now I'm going to get into some stuff I didn't cover in the reel earlier in the week. After about the age of 30, women who are sedentary, and I mean sedentary in the sense that you just don't have high levels of activity. Pause, Tempest. Is there any way to determine how much visceral fat someone has? Yeah, body scanners, essentially. I don't, by the way, I'm sorry if the screen keeps shaking every time I touch the table. I'm trying not to. Laughing at Jennifer's comment. Is there any way to determine how much visceral fat someone has? Yes, DEXA scan. It would be the most accurate method, but for the most part, it's not a specific number you need to know. Just striving for lower levels of body fat, right? You can get tested. I wouldn't go off the scales. If you can buy it for your house, the average person, those electronic bathroom scales you stand on and they tell you 12 different things, including your star sign. Get rid of it. Honestly, get rid of it. You would have to go somewhere to get this tested. And it's not impossible. It's definitely feasible for a lot of people. But talk to your doctor about it. You want what's called a DEXA scan, which uses, it's just more advanced technology than you're going to have. The sad step, more advanced technology than you're going to have in your bathroom. Yeah, I just advise don't have those things. I've had them before. It's addicting looking at the numbers, especially when we associate specific numbers with specific value, specific values and worthiness factors. I weigh this much today, therefore I am, or I gained 2 pounds over the weekend. I must be fill in the gap. I personally weigh myself about once every 4 to 6 weeks when I remember to at the gym. Because outside of that, just don't. I feel good. I mean, you should advise you to do the same thing. If it makes you feel bad about yourself, get rid of it. Get rid of it. I love what Tina called it, the sad step. Tina, you've never said that to me before. I wish you'd told me that. So after the age of 30, women who are sedentary, low levels of activity, begin to lose, on average, 3 to 8% of their muscle mass every decade. Okay? Every 10 years, you will be carrying 3 to 8% less muscle mass, assuming you are not an active individual, not someone who regularly engages in the likes of strength training, right? Pilates, something like that, some weight-bearing exercise, even if it's just your body weight, okay? So, and I would put the majority of people in this category of sedentary, a few thousand steps a day, maybe, but working at a desk or just doing life things at home. Okay. No lifting, lifting children or not challenging yourself. Let me find the right way to say this without offending anybody. There are just certain tasks that women do at home more than men do. I get that's a societal thing. Some places it's different, but would all be silly to deny it. Women who lift children, small children on a regular basis, or laundry baskets or things like that, they don't really count as weight-bearing activities unless every day until your child turns 18, you throw them over your shoulder and do a bunch of squats with them. Okay? Progressive overload at its finest. What does Kathy say? We just went to the gym this morning, first time since we moved to our new home. Oh, fantastic. I love that. I love that. Kathy, good for you. Good for you. Everybody needs a gym membership or something at home. Something at home. Jennifer, you might be 30 years too late, but it's better than 40 years too late, right? You're here now, and that's what counts. So sedentary women begin to lose 3 to 8% of their muscle mass every decade. Now that, of course, excuse me, I don't know why I'm, that was a good one. The range that's an average number, of course. The general rule of thumb, or as we see in the data, is the younger you are, the slower the rate of loss. And then conversely, the older you are, the faster the rate of muscle loss. The rate of muscle loss, also increases in the menopause transition, perimenopause and menopause transition, largely and very likely thanks to the decline in estrogens and progesterone. Now, the loss of muscle mass will obviously affect just everyday activities, walking, okay, up and down stairs, picking up, carrying objects from A to B, getting up and down off the couch or the toilet, just every activity you do in a day. Hey, Jennifer, another Jennifer. Boy, we are about 3 or 4 Jennifers deep at this point. Fantastic. So yeah, losing muscle mass will affect every piece of your life, day-to-day activity. And the bigger one, maybe the biggest one, getting up after a fall. Now, this is a big one for a lot of people. This is a big one in my life at the moment. My father-in-law, again, not an elderly lady, but he 6 days ago fell, broke his femur, snapped the head off his femur. Thankfully made it through surgery, but now has a huge road of recovery ahead of him. Now, he's always been very active, but he's never been a weight trainer. He would easily give anyone my age a run for their money as far as steps goes, but he's never been the dumbbell or barbell kind of person. Yoga on and off. And again, he's not a postmenopausal woman, but there are enough papers to say that if he had been regularly strength training and strengthening his bones and muscles, he may have got up from that and walked away just fine. Instead, he took the head of his femur where it sits in your hip bone. This is your hip bone. This is your thigh bone. It sits in there like that. He broke it off right here. Like I said, thankfully survived surgery on Monday. He's 82, so it was iffy. But now he has a long road of recovery ahead of him. So anyway, research does show that a progressive strength-based training program, so strength-based being challenge your muscles, progressive being make it harder over time, some way or another, by either increasing the weight, increasing the repetitions, okay? Increase the weight you lift, increase the number of times you lift it, increase the amount you lift over a course of a workout or a week, or increase the frequency that you do it. So there are a lot of ways to progressively overload this. You could do one at a time or all at once, depending on how crazy you are. Research shows that a strength-based training program can, combined with protein intake, right, which is where we started with this, can not only slow down the age-related loss of muscle mass, but will also actually reverse it. Okay, so not only can you slow down the rate at which you lose it, you can turn it around enough to increase that intake, to increase that rate of what we call protein synthesis, right, which is making new muscle tissue. It is, admittedly, it is much harder to build muscle mass after, it's harder to build muscle mass after menopause, right, through perimenopause and after menopause than it was before, but it is possible. It is possible, and even the preventative aspect. If you never built any more muscle after the menopause period, which is unlikely because you'll get addicted to this stuff, it's unlikely that you wouldn't build any more. But even if you didn't, the preventative aspect alone should be a reason that every single woman, person does this, right? So there's that. Now, onto the bone side of things, about 1/2 of your bone mass and 1/2 of your bone volume and 1/3 of your bone mass is made up of protein. So alongside healthy, balanced diet, and we say balanced in the sense of it has a variety of colors and textures and different things, along with vitamins and minerals, right? Vitamin D, the sunshine vitamin, if you can't get it from the sun, get it from a bottle. And calcium, you need protein for strong and healthy bones, right? Especially with that, with the decline in bone mineral density in the perimenopause and menopause transition. Now, before I touch on the next point, have I made sense so far? I've missed a lot of the comments, and I'm sorry. I'm trying to stay on task, so I'm gonna check a couple of them out now. If you have any questions, you have about a minute while I read these to drop them in there, and I'll get to them before I touch on my next point. A lot of new faces. Thank you. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. This is so much fun, honestly. Let's see. The last thing I saw was Kathy going to the gym. That's absolutely fantastic. Kathy, well done. Oh, Jennifer, yep. You're still here, though. You're here now. Pilates. I still haven't done Pilates. But there's a studio next to where my wife teaches yoga, so I need to just go and do it. Let's see. Is there a winery meetup that I missed somewhere? Where's that happening? Who's organizing that? I don't drink a lot of any wine, but I can make an exception. So from birth, not around birth, from birth to your mid-20s, okay, women's bone mineral density increases. Okay, so how many minerals, like calcium, right? The quantity of minerals, per whatever measurement you want to use, okay, per chunk of bone. Jennifer Engel, you said we can get vitamin D from a bottle. That's the best bottle we could think of. There's an idea, vitamin D infused wine. Oh, okay. All right, somebody write that down. Because we might be onto something here. Yeah, vitamin infused, like alcohol, duh. Lucinda started weight training at the age of 60. Good work. I love it. Good for you. What's your favorite lift? What's your exercise? What's your favorite exercise? Let us know. So from birth to around mid-20s, women's bone mineral density increases, right? So you are growing bones. You're growing bones in density and volume, right? As you can imagine, small baby, full-grown woman. Okay, so density and volume. Typically peaking at about 25 to 30 years old. It tends to, the density and volume measurements tend to plateau there for a number of years. So from birth to 20s, up, and then they'll sit here for a few years, okay? 10, 15, maybe 20, depending on when the peak hits. But then around the age of about 44 on average, okay, you start losing about 0.4% of your bone mineral density every year. Okay, 0.4% every year. And between the ages of 50 and 54, which, like I said, about the average age of menopause, there is a big decline. There's a sharp decline, and you lose up to, I think it's about 4.5% of your bone density each year from that point. Okay, for about 4 or 5 years in a row. Okay, which is not nothing. Is not nothing. And because women typically have a lower bone mineral density to begin with, just when we say lower bone mineral density compared to men, just because the average skeleton of a female is smaller than a male, women typically have lower bone density to begin with, and a steeper rate of decline overall. Again, women just seem to lose more bone mass than men do. This makes you more susceptible to osteoporosis, right? Which is the name for the condition that causes brittle bones, right? that ultimately fracture more easily. Okay, think again what I talked about before: your parents or your in-laws, somebody falls over and breaks a hip. It is estimated that about 40% of women will experience a bone fracture related to osteoporosis at some point post-menopause. 40%. Okay, which is, again, not nothing. But like the muscle mass before, the good news is that it has been shown. It was thought that we could only humans, women, could only slow down the rate of bone density loss after menopause. But research does also suggest now that we can not only slow it down with regular strength training, you can in fact reverse that as well. So regular exercise, regular resistance training, progressively overloading these weights, you can reverse that as well, which I don't know about you, I think is pretty freaking cool. I'm going to catch my breath for a moment and let some of these comments catch up. I hit menopause at 42. Does that mean my bone mineral density is like a 52-year-old? Not necessarily, because that would mean lumping every 52-year-old into the same category. It depends. It depends on so many things. What were the 41 years before your 42nd year like? You know, how much activity did you have? What kind of diet did you have? There's a lot to take into consideration. I am not a doctor. I do not pretend to play one on the internet. I want to bring more attention to menopause and the things that are within my scope of practice, which are eat more damn protein, lift more weights, because this is why. If you live long enough, this is happening to you eventually. So talk to your doctor. Talk to your doctors. Get the necessary tests. If someone doesn't want to give it to you, find another doctor. Talk to other women. Normalize the conversation around menopause. Okay? Talk to men. Talk to your husbands, partners, brothers. Let's make it not awkward for people to talk about. There's a real thing around it. You know, there was that time of the month for a while, and then it never gets talked about again. So let's talk about the damn thing. Laurie, is protein powder a good source? Yes, protein powder is a fantastic source of protein. I wouldn't get 6 servings of protein powder a day and call it good, but protein powder is the easiest way to increase protein intake. I have a whey-based protein powder at home. I buy it, I kid you not, 10 pounds at a time from Amazon. It's on an auto renewal. Just every 90 days, I get 10 pounds of whey protein, and it ties me over nicely. Whey might not be your go-to, but there are, egg-based, soy-based, rice, pea. There's a number of them that you can use. Hemp is another good one. Yeah, protein powder is the easiest way to increase your protein intake. Now I'll get into that in a moment. So on average, women typically eat less protein than they need, right? Most people eat less than they need, men included, but women typically eat less than less. So for our audience here, perimenopausal, postmenopausal, and perimenopausal, menopausal, and postmenopausal women who want to combat this stuff, who just want to stay active, strong, healthy, and not be occupied by the fear of falling and breaking a bone all day. The recommendation is 0.5, so 0.5 to 0.9 grams of protein per pound of body weight per day, okay, or about 1.2 to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight. I'm not sure how many people I have in the audience now that use kilograms. It's still my default because I come from a place where measurement makes sense, but I'm getting used to pounds. So my goal as a coach is to simplify it as much as possible. Now, there are a few of you in the audience who I work with already, and we've gone through the process of simplifying it to identifying the protein-rich foods, and then basically figuring out what a portion of protein is for that particular food. Now, for most things, most protein-rich foods, animal products, beef, chicken, fish, other poultry, other seafood, pork, some dairy products, Greek yogurt and cottage cheese, as well as eggs and egg whites are a good one. And then for those that don't eat a lot of animal products or choose not to eat any, the choice is yours. Your next best option are things like protein powders and also chickpeas, beans, legumes, that kind of stuff. Okay, they're not as high in protein as the animal-based foods, but they are your next bet. They're your next best bet, rather. They are higher in carbohydrates, but that's not to say they are bad. Okay, they have more carbohydrates. Surprise, rice has more carbohydrate in it than a steak does. It's just the nature of the food, but it does have more protein than a lot of other stuff. You know, veganism is not just fruits and vegetables, right? You still need your protein, regardless of what you choose to or choose not to eat. So to keep it simple, right, nice and simple, we identify the protein-rich foods, right, and again, what I've just said there, animal products are the best bet there. A serving of, let's say, beef, okay, ground beef, beef steak, whatever, about the size, right? So imagine my palm had no fingers on it. Size and thickness of the palm of your hand, okay, would be one serving of protein. Now, with that serving, a piece of steak or chicken breast that big or fish, you get about, on average, 20 to 30 grams of protein per serving, right? So while that might be, it might be 160 grams or let's say 4 or 5 ounces of meat, you yield an ounce or maybe 30 grams of protein. Okay, I think my math is right on the ounces there. So a protein-rich food is not all protein, generally about 30% by weight, okay? 20 to 30%. So a serving size of protein, size and thickness of the palm of your hand, about 20 to 30 grams of protein per serving. Most women, most of the time, would be between 3 and 6 palm-sized servings of protein per day. Kathy, how many grams of protein do we need a day? So the recommendation for you know, active women, or those who are trying to be more active, who are trying to hang on to that muscle mass, rebuild that bone density, and not just cut the bare, reach the bare minimum intake, 0.5 to 0.9 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Okay, so let's do some math there, because I'm thinking about too many things to do it in my head. So let's say 165 pounds, a minimum of 80 grams of protein per day, 82.5 to be exact. Okay, now with that, again, we want to simplify it as much as possible. I don't teach calorie counting. I don't count my own calories. I did it for about 6 weeks. I hated it. It's no way to live. Essentially, I want to do the things that help me live, not restrict the way I live, and calorie counting doesn't work for me. It might work for you, and that's fantastic. If you want to punch your food into a calorie calculator and get it to the gram, that's fine. But unless you are an elite athlete and you make money off your physique somehow, I would deem it unnecessary. So, which is why I try and simplify it as much as possible, because everybody I work with has other shit going on, either children, business, both, relationships, travel, that kind of stuff. You don't want to be that person taking food scales into a restaurant, because you don't. So what did I say? 165 grams. So a minimum of 82 grams up to 150 grams, right? That's the target I would shoot for. Right now, with that, again, 20 to 30 grams of protein per palm-sized serving of protein, the size and thickness of the palm of your hand, 3 to 6 palm-sized servings per day. Okay, depending on where you start. Okay, if you're not eating more than a serving of protein per day, or you think that's where you are, I would I would aim for 3, okay, or aim for 2. Take your current average and just increase it by a serving. Okay, some of the women I work with, it takes us 6 months of continuous practice to regularly get 5 or 6 servings of protein per day. But that's okay, because either you spend 6 months practicing to get to where you want to go, or you are still at the same point you were before that, and you're no better off for it, right? So it doesn't matter how long it takes, doesn't matter how slow you go, just do it. Sorry if that sounded a bit aggressive. Let's see. Some of the protein for the day can be from protein powder. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that is the easiest way to increase your protein intake, is a serving or 2 of protein powder. Personally, again, I'm the exception here. I'm probably the only man in the room right now. I weigh most days about 210 pounds. My protein intake is a little higher than yours. Again, just by weight. Okay. I would do anywhere from 2 to 4 scoops of protein powder per day. Okay, so 2 shakes with about 50 grams of protein each. But that's just me. On top of that, my protein intake, there's generally some kind of meat for lunch and dinner. Okay, one or the other, or both, chicken or beef. We're usually fortunate enough to be able to afford that much meat right now. The last thing we bought, I think, half a cow, stuck it in the freezer. So that makes it more accessible for us. And also we can still get eggs where we are right now. So I would eat 3 or 4 eggs for breakfast, right? Which would give me, in that case, 18 to 24 grams of protein. So a serving of protein from eggs. And then I would have 2 scoops of protein after that. So that's what I do. That's me. I'm not saying you have to eat that much food, but 3 to 6 palm-sized servings of protein-rich food per day. Now, I have a couple of posts on social media about, this is about how much food is a serving of protein. 4 or 5 ounces of most meat will give you between 25 and 35 grams of protein. Eggs and egg whites are a really easy one. Most women I've talked to so far struggle to stomach 3 or 4 eggs. So I would do 1 or 2 eggs with some egg whites on the side to make things not on the side, but egg whites in addition to the eggs makes things really easy without also massively increasing the volume of food. And sometimes you just don't like eggs that much, which is fine. Let me catch up on these comments for a second. Karen, I rebel against myself if I have to count anything or weigh. Yeah, I'm torn on this one because like I said, I hate calorie counting. Life's too short to do that, to be perfectly honest. And unless if you're an elite athlete and your income relies on you looking or functioning a certain way, it might be necessary, but that's a trade-off you have to make. Most people, most of the time, would just do well with a little bit more attention towards their diet and what they choose to eat. And one of the things I'm trying to get a lot of my clients towards the point of is being 2 or 3 steps ahead instead of always feeling 1 or 2 steps behind. So knowing what you're going to have in advance. I'm not saying meal prep it, right? But you know that what is it? It's Thursday now. You know what's for dinner tonight. You know what's for lunch tomorrow. You have 3 or 4 options for breakfast. You have not a meal plan, but you have these options that will make it easier for you to hit your protein goals. If you can identify, and this is an ongoing experiment, this is a practice, but if you can identify 3 or 4 meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner that will check those boxes as far as protein intake goes, again, 1 serving, 1 or 2 things, right? If you can identify those, then you know that you're going to be okay. You know that even if things get crazy or there's a last minute grocery shop, right? You have these things available to you. Now, Libby, yes, meal plans are helpful. Meal plans are helpful. I don't give out meal plans. 1, because it's illegal. Personal trainers and online coaches cannot legally prescribe meal plans. If you are a nutritionist, a certified nutritionist within whatever state you're living in, you can give out meal plans. For most other people, it's illegal. Most people don't really think about that. And yes, Libby, I shouldn't have been so quick to jump to that. Totally mean making your own meal plan is fine. It's a great idea. Again, 3 or 4 options for each of those meals, and then what you could have. Okay, it just, again, 1, 2, 3 steps ahead instead of 1 or 2 steps behind. You get half an hour post lunch, you think, shit, what am I going to have? Versus half an hour before lunch, and you think, I've got it in the fridge. I'm fine. I know what I need to do. Trina, let's see. How important is it to eat 3 or 4 times a day? It depends who you are. Most people, I would encourage you to eat more often than less often, but it depends on your goal. It depends on your start point and your end goal. If not eating breakfast works for you, great. If it works, one of my favorite questions as a coach is, how is that working for you? When somebody comes to me and says, I've been doing fasting, right? Or I'm trying to lose weight. This is my current schedule. I don't have time to eat breakfast. How's that working for you? Usually the answer is it's not, right? Fasting in most cases, and again, my experience, 10 years of coaching, 11 actually now, you skip breakfast, you get to lunch, sweet, that's fine. You get to dinner, yep, maybe it's gone okay. You get to 7 or 8 p.m. and you think, shit, I'm really short on calories today because I didn't give myself breakfast. I consciously or not cut out 20 to 35% of my caloric intake for the day. And then your body, that's when you start picking at things. And you start, maybe staying up late to eat more food. And you end up eating more than if you had just had breakfast in the first place. I think of this stuff like riding a bike. You're not expected to be good at it. If not having breakfast was a routine you got into, you can also get back into the routine of having breakfast. It's just finding a way that works for you. If you try it for 1 day and think, oh, this is such a hassle, it doesn't work, give it 100 days. Make it a little bit better each time. Let's see, again, catching up on the comments. My daughter and I have bags of quick meals like turkey and chili. Perfect. Yeah. Hopefully you get to them before you're starving. I would advise you to eat a little bit before that, but I know what you mean. What about those of us who don't like most dairy, from Dina, and eat little meat? Grains and protein powder. Beans, all kinds of beans, kidney beans, pinto, black beans, that kind of stuff. Rices are good. Quinoa, chickpeas, lentils. These are the higher protein foods that don't fit into the animal categories. Some people lump fish in with meat. Now that I see Jennifer popping up with the word fish, fish is very accessible. It doesn't have to be fresh, organic salmon, harvested in Alaska by nuns. It just canned fish. Okay, you can get them just fine. If you don't like dairy, that's fine. Absolutely fine. There are lots of ways to get protein, and I would run out of my voice before I ran out of ways to get it. Let's see. I keep seeing how good fasting is for your body. Yeah, yeah. It's might be nice for you to take a break from food once in a while, but it won't stop your body from healing. Your body heals anyway, whether you do it or not. I think it really caught on when people learned what the word autophagy meant, right? Or autophagy, depending on where you're from, which is a cellular repair process. It happens anyway. It happens around the clock, whether or not you eat or don't eat. Fasting, when compared to other means of caloric restriction, let's say, which is the underlying controller of weight loss, right? For this example, it produced the exact same outcome, right? Statistically significant outcome. People lost about the same amount of weight when the calories and the protein intake were equal. So whether or not you skipped breakfast or fasted for 16 hours a day or did whatever, if you ate the same amount of protein as somebody else who ate 3 meals a day, the same amount of calories, they lost statistically the same amount of weight. So from a weight loss or weight management perspective, it's the same. It's, again, it's a sexy idea. I'll skip breakfast. I'm healing my body. I'm healing my gut. I'm healing, cancer can't survive in a fasted environment. You hear it all. It's a trend. I have clients that fast for religious reasons, for 3 or 4 days every month, 3 or 4 consecutive days every month. I've done fasting before. I went down the rabbit hole of keto to the point I pricked my finger and tested my blood 3 times a day for about 18 months. I felt great. I felt awesome, but I feel awesome now and I'm not fasting. I wake up hungry. I eat a huge dinner. It's less about the healing process. Your body heals anyway. Your body's going to heal from fasting. If it works for you, that's fantastic. But it is not superior to any other thing specifically. Excuse me, as far as I have come across, your body will heal anyway. Your body will heal whether or not you eat anyway. It's like saying your hair will only grow when you stop eating. Your muscles will only grow when you stop eating. Your body goes through cycles of breakdown and repair, regardless of whether or not you eat. Well, if you don't ever eat, there's an end point. But you don't need to stop eating or fast or get 6 hours into it to begin healing. Your body will heal. Let's see. How people only drink coffee until dinner. Yeah, Terry, I mean, don't get it. Coffee is an appetite suppressant, right? Caffeine will eliminate some of that hunger. But you'll still see people who skip breakfast, skip lunch, get to dinner, and somehow still gain weight, right? Because all they've done is eat more food than their body has used for that day. Okay. Ultimately, it all comes down to energy balance. If you eat more food than you need to spend in a day, your body will store it as body fat. It's a wonderfully designed system. If you don't eat enough, if you don't put enough energy in to support your activity for the day, your body will draw on the stores that it has. Okay. Body fat, that's a beautiful thing. Your body will break down that body fat, do what it needs to do, cleave off all these, triglycerides down into little glucose molecules, pump them through your blood, send them to your muscles, do everything it needs to do. If you don't have that, it'll start breaking down your bones and your muscles. Okay, so a long-term caloric deficit, if you don't need to be in one, is a terrible idea. I think coffee's great, but I don't think it counts as breakfast. Let's see. Are oats okay? Yeah, oats are fine. Oats are absolutely fine. I've seen people call them peasant food. I've seen people just harp on about the chemicals in them. Oats are absolutely fine. We buy our bags of oats about 50 pounds at a time. Get them delivered to the door because we go through them. Oats are a great food. Not huge, not massive in protein, but they do have some. I think it's about 6 grams per half cup or serving. So there's some protein in them. They're good. Eat them. And paired with Greek yogurt. Yes, Greek yogurt, high protein food. Harvested by nuts. I'm glad you like that, Libby. Let's see. This is very interesting, and I did know protein was very important, but wasn't aware how much. Yeah, you're welcome, Jennifer. Another Jennifer. Let's see. If I've missed your comment, please just write it again. Anything to stop hair thinning as soon as I start dieting? I would need to know more about you. Kay, I think your name is. Hair thinning could be a result of stress and how extreme the diet is and the calorie deficit is. Menopause, perimenopause, decreasing hormones, an increase in the ratio of the androgen hormones, the male hormones, testosterone and DHEA. The ratios increase when estrogen and progesterone drop during perimenopause. That tends to have some impact, but again, I'd need to know more about your situation. It would be different. The answer would probably be different if you were 31 versus 51. So if you don't follow me on social media, Kay, find me and send me a message and we can talk more about this. By the way, that goes for anybody else. Just send me a message. I'd love to chat. High protein snacks. Yeah, that's a good one because a lot of the high protein snacks usually come with a lot of other things in them. And not things as like, oh, nasty chemicals, because everything is a chemical. But just a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of fats. I think if you focus on getting your protein sources getting regular protein at those main meals, at those intervals of, let's imagine you eat every 4 hours, right? Every 4 or 5 hours, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you provided yourself with sufficient protein and eat just enough calories, now enough is relative, okay, enough is relative to your goals and your person, but enough would be, so sufficient calories, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, your desire to snack between those meals will probably drop significantly. And then I think there's also something to consider in the fact that not every snack has to be high protein. If it's available to you, like the Quest protein chips that Terry's just mentioned, things like that are great. They're absolutely fantastic. But I would go as close as you can and as often as you can towards getting your protein at those 3 main meals of the day. 3 to 6 palm-sized servings of protein per day, a half at a snack, right? If it's available to you. If not, it's okay to have carbohydrates and fats for a snack. But I would address the overall energy intake first and then see how frequent or infrequent those snack cravings come up. Let's see. Eating less, does it slow down your metabolism? Yes and no. No, in the sense that there aren't going to be huge changes. Yes, in the sense that your body will adapt to the situation that it's in. If you are an active person eating X number of calories per day, your body will get used to burning that many calories per day. It will sustain that level of activity. Okay, if you don't go for a walk on a day you otherwise would have, you will find yourself fidgeting more, right? Foot tap on the ground, right? Tap the table, whatever you do, you will just fidget more because your body's trying to use that energy because it's used to using that energy. When you diet for long periods of time, and long is relative, and the diet is relative as well. When you enter a calorie deficit for a long enough period of time, your body will decrease its output to match the intake. Again, I will keep saying this, your body is wickedly clever. It's a wonderful thing, and it will do its best to keep you alive. Okay, so this is This is a problem with a severe calorie deficit. People drop their calories too far, their energy goes right down. And what used to be a deficit now becomes what we would call maintenance, where the intake is matched to the output. So it can slow down your metabolism. You would have to be, it depends let me backtrack. It depends why you're asking the question. If eating less has not resulted in weight loss, you are probably not in a caloric deficit, right? Which is okay because it takes tinkering and it takes some experimenting to get there. If you've been in a caloric deficit for so long that your weight loss has stopped, your metabolism has adjusted to the new energy intake, right, by a little bit, and you are no longer in a caloric deficit, right? That's probably as simple as I can make it. Does that make sense, Terry? I hope so. Yes, if you are losing hair, yeah, it is a hormonal thing. And again, I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to play one on the internet. Go and get your hormones checked. But I would also keep in mind the extent of the calorie deficit, and also how extreme that situation, those numbers are. Let's see, Julie, what have you said here? Amount of protein in a shake. Okay, so this is a good one. Your body can handle more than 30 grams of protein in a serving. It can and it will. This comes from, I think, your body can only synthesize so much muscle in a certain amount of time, and about 30 grams. If you eat 55, 60 grams of protein, from my understanding of it, about 30 grams of protein may go towards protein synthesis, but you don't just pee out the rest of it. Okay, your body will use those other amino acids for other things. Okay, protein is more than muscle, right? So yes, there is some truth to that, but you can also eat more protein than that, and it's not like it's going to waste. But you should spread it out over a day. And if we go back to the numbers, 165-pound person, 80 to 150 grams of protein per day, you will probably feel better splitting it up over 3 or 4 servings than you would eating 80 grams of protein in one sitting. Okay, but on paper, the outcome would be the same, right? Whether it was weight loss or weight gain. Energy in, energy out is the underlying fundamental equation of all of this. Let's see, does low normal body temp affect metabolism? Yes, it does. People with a higher muscle mass will generally run warmer. Like a lot of these answers, the question is, it depends. It depends on your situation. So low body temperature, it could be thyroid hormones, could be related to perimenopause. It could be related to muscle mass or potentially lack thereof. But it will affect metabolism. But then the other question is, to what extent, and how do you notice it affecting your metabolism? Are you trying to lose weight and finding a caloric deficit is hard? Are you trying not to lose weight and eating enough calories is hard? It depends, essentially. Jennifer, yeah, menopause and stress. Yep. It matters. It matters. Have I answered anybody's questions? Everybody's questions so far? What did you ask, Tempest? Is there a specific list of all hormones that should be tested? Your doctor will have that. Your doctor will cover the necessary ones. Estrogens, thyroid hormones, your stress hormones. Okay, again, it would be out of my scope to say specifically do this, but it is well within my scope to say talk to your doctor about getting hormones tested. Say give me the whole thing. Okay, if things like your insurance is covering it, go and get these things tested. Estrogens, progesterone, thyroid function. Okay, those are probably the biggest ones to look at first, but your doctor won't be unfamiliar with it, hopefully. Let's put it that way. Vicky, do I offer online training sessions one-to-one? Yes and no. I don't do training sessions where I'll watch you do it over Zoom and coach you through it. But I do every person I work with. I do prescribe training programs. I do offer nutrition coaching services, and this is all in one, right? Training programs, nutrition coaching. There's a lot of one-to-one chickens, like just you and I, over a video call much like this, where we would navigate obstacles, set daily targets. There's a coaching app. There's daily habits, routines that we would go through. My job as a coach is to meet you where you are and help you get to where you want to go. So your plan will look entirely different to somebody else's, depending on your situation. Yes, and therapy, Jennifer. Yep. And then I also have a community as well. All right. There are a few women here now, Tempest, Jennifer, who are in that community. We have a Facebook group. We share stuff that we think relevant to it. We're from different parts of the world, different parts of America. I have clients in New Zealand as well. So we're spread out, Canada, and there's a community aspect to it. So not one-to-one in the sense that I will watch you do, a bench press over Zoom and tell you to push another one out. I will give you a training program. I will detail everything you need to know in that training program. I will sit down with you once a week for half an hour or so on Zoom, and we will talk about the obstacles you're facing, the challenges you might have had over the last week, and coach you through those. I will set you up with nutrition habits and boxes to tick each day. Eat more protein, eat enough carbohydrates. Here are some sleep tips that we can work with. Okay, so it's all encompassing. Jennifer's probably done a better job of describing it as I have. Let's see. Are you saying that if we exercise regularly, walking about 7 to 8 kilometers, where are you? That over time, in order to keep losing weight, we'll need to move more? Yes, that is true, but also it takes a shitload of exercise, to burn calories. It is a lot easier to not ingest them in the first place. Right. Now, there's a point at which you don't want to eat, below, right? Because you start encountering trade-offs that are just not worth it. But yeah, you should exercise regularly. You should build as much muscle mass as you can. And you should maintain a minimum level of daily activity. Now, for everyone, that's going to look different. Okay. I have a walking pad at home. It's very easy for me to get 10,000 steps after my son goes to bed. Some people walk a couple of rounds of 2,000 or 3,000 steps during the day because their lifestyle allows them to. Some people are stuck breaking over 2,000 steps a day. And those things are fine. We start there and you would increase that slowly. But you don't have to keep doing more exercise each day. Okay, you just monitor the calorie intake, monitor what you're eating. And this is maybe going beyond the scope of the protein conversation, but 3 to 6 servings of protein, right, will support muscle mass, will increase the energy that you need to burn each day. Okay, regular exercise, like lifting weights, again, will build more muscle mass, will increase the amount of energy you burn each day. Walking is great, 300 to 500 calories of exercise per day. But the ultimate difference there is monitor what goes in. It would be so much easier to not eat 200 calories than it would be to walk another 2 kilometers to burn them, or 3 or 4 kilometers. Does that make sense? Let's see. My PA keeps giving me the South Beach diet. Can't do this as I get migraines with no carbs. I don't know enough about the South Beach diet, but let me quickly Google it. I hope my screen isn't gone. Low carbohydrate, high protein diet. Yeah, okay, so that says enough. Any diet you've ever seen, I don't care what name it has, is built upon the principle of a calorie deficit. A low carbohydrate diet, if you take the average person's diet, might be 45% carbohydrate. Okay, so 45% of that person's daily intake comes from carbohydrate. If you take the exact same foods and you take the carbohydrates out of it, you now have, not no carb, but low carb. So let's imagine less than 20%. Okay, so you have that person remove 30% of their carbohydrate intake and therefore 30% of their energy intake or thereabouts. You are going to see weight loss because you've just created an energy deficit. Okay, same thing with every other diet plan you've ever seen. Every name that it's come about, it's the same thing dressed up in a different way and sold in another pretty little box. It's a calorie deficit. Eat less energy than you expend and you will lose weight. For some people, it's as simple as, going to bed 2 hours earlier so you don't snack on chips and soda at 10:30 p.m. Okay, it's not because the sugar is bad. It's not because of the dye in the soda. It's because you have stopped eating 300 to 400 calories a night. Over the course of a week, that's almost, 3,000 calories. Okay, that is where the weight loss comes from. So the South Beach diet, it's a name for a diet. I see now phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Yeah, like people need instructions. Because a calorie deficit is a very broad term. But I agree with the high protein, the low carbohydrate. It might work for some people, but it's the same shit. Same stuff. Pick any diet. The underlying principle is a calorie deficit. Things like keto or carnivore, it's not the magic of ketosis. The initial weight loss is that you've cut out carbohydrates, therefore you've cut out a lot of water weight. Right? When your body when you break down carbohydrates, the simplest forms, glycogen, your body will store that glycogen in your muscle cells. And for every gram of glycogen your body stores, it will store 3 grams of water with that. So when you stop eating carbohydrates, when you stop storing glycogen, you will stop holding so much water. That is the initial success that most people find on a low carbohydrate diet. It's mostly water weight. If you were to reintroduce those carbohydrates 2 weeks later, you would return to the same weight, right? Not negatively. It's just you store glycogen, you store water. You don't store glycogen, you don't store water or as much water. Let's see. Do I recommend a particular brand of protein powder? Yeah, so I use the Optimum Nutrition I buy it from Amazon. I don't love buying a lot of stuff from Amazon, but you do what you can. I buy it 10 pounds at a time because I know I like it. I know I go through it and it's more cost effective, but you don't have to buy it 10 pounds at a time. If you're looking for new protein powders, I would shop around because some of the flavors are awful. I don't want Captain Crunch birthday cake flavored protein shake near my breakfast. A nice vanilla and I'm fine. You could be a chocolate person, vanilla person. I had some really nice stuff in New Zealand that I can't get anymore. Best I ever had, but that was like a sweet caramel. But buy small, find what you like, and then buy larger. A lot of it probably comes from the same factory, the same plant. But look for the other ingredients, not because they're bad, but because there might be something you're sensitive to. And that's about what I would have to say on the topic. Let's see. He's a horrible therapist. Thanks, Tempest. Let's see. My GP put me into hypothyroidism. Put you into hypothyroidism. Did I read that right? Okay, follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, estradiol, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, iron, ferritin, cortisol. Woo! My doctor didn't know. I'm going to assume I've read that wrong, maybe. Unless you're advising Tempest before about what to get tested. Yeah, T3, T4, those are your thyroid hormones. Yeah. Yeah. If you have anything to add to that, please do, because that's interesting. Yeah, food matters a lot. Jennifer, you are a troublemaker. Let's see, I'm just catching up. No, Tempest, don't ask me about Primal Queen. Is that, I've never thought to ask you this, but she's not the other half of the Liver King situation, is she? Because that guy got a lot of people worked up for nothing. Let's see. I have hyperthyroidism and I am in perimenopause. Being 48 years old is very difficult to lose weight, but I'm focused on moving my body. If I don't, my back and knees hate me. Yeah, it does. I'm not sure how much of the conversation you've been here for, Mercedes, but it does get difficult. It does get harder around the perimenopause and menopause period. Declining hormones, decreasing muscle mass, the whole just, I guess, down regulation of everything makes it difficult. It's not impossible, but it's a lot, it's just harder. It's harder than it was. The calorie deficit that you needed when you were 30 or 25, it's not the same once you reach perimenopause, unfortunately. It's possible. And when you approach it in a way that you can sustain for the rest of your life, when you approach it piece by piece, it becomes more possible. Yeah. The bottom line is it's harder, but not impossible. Why did I stop doing keto? Did I not feel well or just not like it? No, I loved it, honestly. I loved it, but I love carbohydrates as well. I just missed carbs, fruit, that kind of stuff. I wanted those in my life more than I wanted to prick my fingers every day and test my blood for ketones. I've done a lot of the stuff that you've heard about diet-wise, nutrition protocols. I've done those things. And I went deep into a lot of those things thinking I was going to crack the code, but I listened to people that made it really sexy and really complicated. And now I don't, essentially. Now I try and simplify it because I spent tens of thousands of dollars trying to find the secret. And it turns out the secret is really obvious. And when it's really obvious, people don't want to believe it. So I've been that person. So I just stopped doing it because I discovered it wasn't completely superior to anything else. It wasn't going to make me live forever. It wasn't going to make me gain more muscle or burn more fat or lose more fat, rather. You burn more, but there's a difference between burning more and losing it. Okay, I'm burning fat right now, sitting here talking to you. But it's because I'm doing low level, like nothing, low level exercise, lower than that. If I started lifting weights, my body would break up some glucose and I would use those. So burning fat and losing fat are not the same thing. Tangent, anyway. Tempest, he makes me eat protein and vegetables. Yeah, because that's what works. That's what works. Okay, I did that right. Now, forgive me. Zani? I'm sorry. Overdosed me on levothyroxine. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry about that. That's rough. Are there other ways to take protein powder besides shakes from Amrita? Yes. Yeah. You can, I mean, the common one is probably protein oats that you'll hear thrown around. People mix protein powder into their yogurt. Depends on the protein powder, depends on the yogurt that you have. But you also can bake with it and do a lot of stuff. Put it in a lot of things. As I said to one of my clients, or I've said to her a long time ago, but she brought it up yesterday. Just find a recipe you like and chuck it into Google and add the words high protein to it and see what happens. And you can use, and I bring that up because you can do the same thing with just Google protein powder cookies, or high protein cookies. These things are probably just going to take scoops of protein powder. Okay, so you don't have to just mix it with water, but you could get a fun time with shakes and smoothies as well. Frozen berries, handful of like spinach or something that doesn't overpower the smoothie itself. Might be a nice idea. Let's see. I need to walk to lose weight and improve my knees, but my knees hurt so much when I'm walking. Okay, so scale it. What can you do? Could you ride a bike? Do you have a stationary bike at home? What can you do? Scale it. That's my first piece of advice. Find something you can do and do that until you can make it harder. I have a client right now with plantar fasciitis, and if she wants to speak up, she can. But walking's out of the fucking question. Sorry, walking's out of the question right now because it's extremely painful. And the spin bike that she's got, the seat is very uncomfortable after about 15 minutes. So our option now is one of those recumbent bicycles where you lean right back and you do the, arms and legs. It's not going to get her anywhere, like physically, because she's in one spot, but it's going to burn more energy. It's going to move blood around her body. It's going to help her body function instead of not walking because her foot hurts. So Libby, I would reduce it to what you can do, or do it, until like just before the knees start hurting, and then stop doing it. But also I would look into strength training. How can you strengthen those knees? Why are they hurting? Probably a more important question. Do they hurt because you are carrying more weight than you want to? Do they hurt because of an injury? Do they hurt because of arthritis? Are we talking an autoimmune condition? But scale it back and do what you can. And then I would definitely investigate things like strength training. Okay? Because move it or lose it is a big thing. But you can strengthen that. It's probably something you've gone to physical therapy for before, maybe. I don't know if that's a fair assumption, but there are very basic exercises you can do to help improve that situation. Let's see. Wasn't pulling the correct labs even when I requested. Yeah. Yeah. See, it's a complex subject, and I, I'm a strength and nutrition coach essentially with a serious interest in menopause, but I'm still not an endocrinologist. And these are heavy conversations. Zan. Okay. Thank you, Zan. Amrita with, walking in a pool. Perfect. Takes most of the weight off, or a significant amount, depending on how many floaties you want to use. Hey, Vicky. Let's see. Thoughts on isogenics. I deliberately skipped this one to get to those other few first because I mean, how much you want to pay for dehydrated berries, really? It can work. It's not magic. It's a calorie deficit, and it's very expensive. What's the term people are using now? It's an MLM. It's a multi-level marketing scheme. If you do isogenics, I'm sorry if that offends you. I've had a little bit of experience working with people that do and have used isogenics before. It's just one of the trends, one of the diet hacks that caught on. They got very popular. They saw some success, but it's meal replacement shakes, and it's expensive berry powder. If you, for whatever reason, cannot eat a certain food or cannot get enough of a certain food, I think there's a case for using something like that, as is my experience with one particular client right now. She has, doesn't eat vegetables, doesn't eat fruits or vegetables. And so her reason for doing isogenics is to get those minerals, to get those vitamins and minerals from the likes of those powders and drinks and stuff. So it depends on your reason for doing it, but it's not magic. Nope. If anything, it's overpriced and it's wickedly misleading. Let's see. Let me cut back here. Yeah, Zan, that's rough. Wow. Do you have a good quality protein powder? Yeah, I will. I'm not experienced enough of this to link things yet. Let me see if I can bring it up. I'm just going to post what I use in the chat. Jennifer, you're the YouTube guru. Does that work? This is just a link to what I use. I'll get the French vanilla one. French vanilla cream. Let's see. Okay. Oh, I can't do that because it's only letting me post a certain number of characters. Let me see. Let me do this. I will just bear with me. Okay, I'll get better at this as we go. This is the first YouTube one. The Optimum Nutrition Gold Standard 100% whey powder. That's what I use. You can copy and paste that into Amazon and go from there. Let's see. Siobhan, you're very welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for still being here, quite frankly. Right, how far back do I have to go? Let's see. Collagen protein in coffee. Yeah, it's a protein source. Collagen is another form of protein powder. It's another way to increase your protein intake. The fact that it's with coffee or the fact that it's collagen makes very little difference to the overall impact of it. But you can add it to your coffee. I think people use collagen because it doesn't cook the same way. If you poured whey protein powder into hot coffee, there it would it would cook essentially, and it would taste really bad. But collagen or gelatin are just other great sources of protein. Let's see. Zan, yeah. Demand all the hormones tested and do not take no for an answer. Like I said before, you can have the conversation. If you don't get the answer you're looking for, find another doctor. Libby, okay, it is arthritis. Yep. So that's a limiting thing. That's a difficult situation to be in, and I'm sorry you're in that spot. But I would scale down the exercise to something you can do, and do that because it all counts. There's a big trend right now on social media about, or at least from my point of view, from my perspective on social media, and it's really disappointing, people in the fitness industry putting down other people for their choice of exercise. It's not good enough. It doesn't matter. If it's more than nothing, it counts. It all counts. Strength training. Jennifer, yeah, strength training has helped my knees and back. Yep. I'm not going to say it's that, well, no, I will. If there is a fountain of youth, it's strength training. It really is. I don't, hark back to the caveman days and cavewoman days and think that the quality of life was much better, because it wasn't. Most people didn't make it past 5 years old. Okay. But those that did physically had it a lot harder. And that's what modern days lifestyles are missing: physical exercise. I wouldn't ever want to go back and live in that time. But the more physical activity you can engage in on a daily basis, the better you're gonna feel. To a point. Let's see. Just making sure I read these. I don't want anybody to not get the attention they deserve. Jennifer McQueen. Yeah, you do need to be my Brienne. Yeah. What a great idea, Libby. How much can I hire you for, Jennifer? Kathy, you do have to advocate for yourselves. Yeah, you do need to. I'm the last person that's going to tell you doctors are evil, or that doctors are. Again, there's a huge shift right now going on in the. Yeah, I'm 85. Yeah, you got that right. I can only speak for America, but this distrust in science and medicine, it is baffling to be in a time where we have relied on those things so heavily to get us this far that we can turn back on them and say they're the problem. It's such a dichotomy to live in. But with that being said, some doctors, maybe it's a power trip, maybe it's a lack of education, which is acceptable. Okay, you might not have a lot of time to continue your education as a doctor. Benefit of the doubt, but speak up, advocate for yourself. Grab a book on menopause. Just something. Find out what you need to know. And maybe this is something I should put together. Just here's what you should ask. Here's what you should know. Here's what you should ask. If you don't get it, go somewhere else. What is the thing here? Let's see. Maybe you could post it in the description after the video is over. If you can tell me what I'm posting, I will do that. Karen, I need to cut out sugar, particularly in coffee. Yep. I'm assuming you're coming at it from a weight loss point of view. You could cut out sugar. You could cut out anything, essentially. Pick the lowest hanging fruits. It might not be sugar in your coffee. That may be the easiest one. You could cut out, 2 or 3 teaspoons or tablespoons, however many spoons of sugar you have per day. You could cut out sugar in your coffee as a starting point. But you could also reduce the size of every meal by 10%, and it would create a calorie deficit. It is recommended, you kind of avoid more than about 30 grams of added sugar per day. So sugar in your coffee would contribute to that, 5 grams, 10 grams, however much you have, 2 teaspoons, let's say. It is recommended you don't, for most health reasons, you don't consume more than, say, 30 grams of sugar per day. But in the case of a calorie deficit, it does not need to be sugar. There is nothing inherently bad about sugar other than it's really easy to overeat. And as a result, we eat more than we need, right? We eat more energy than we need. Okay, but of all the things to cut out, it's usually the easiest one because it's something that you add to your diet anyway. So I hope that helps. If there's any more you want to give me on this situation, go for it. Mercedes, I suffer from bloating and don't eat that many vegetables, hardly any flour. Oncologist gave me probiotics. There are lots of substitutes you could make for vegetables. Again, you would probably do well to get a blood test, get a blood panel done, see what you might be deficient in. I would look into how you eat as well. And this is something I had a bunch of notes here that I only made it through a page and a half before we started talking about everything else. So eat slowly and chew your food a minimum of 30, if not 40 times per mouthful before you swallow it. Most people inhale their food. And because of that, the digestion process starts here in the mouth with the salivary, saliva and salivary enzymes, salivary amylase to be specific. Your teeth, okay, you chew that food up as well as you can before you swallow it. And you might notice a decrease in bloating and just general like gastrointestinal discomfort. Again, most people are rushing, eating while doing something else, eating while driving. Please don't do that. Or just just eating distractedly and chewing 2 or 3 times per mouthful. Slow down, chew your food a minimum of 30, if not 40 times per bite. I'm talking baby food. Mush. Unrecognizable before you swallow it. See if that makes a difference. Probiotics definitely, help to populate the gut with beneficial bacteria. As for a substitute, that's where you might look at those, those greens powders or the likes of, me dogging on isogenics before. In those cases, some of those supplements, they're supplements, they're not necessarily a whole diet, might be a good idea to look into. Lee, I don't eat fruits and vegetables, but I take fruits and veggie supplements from Balance. Yeah, for whatever reason you don't eat them, that's personal to you, but getting them either dehydrated or in specific, you can take magnesium. You get it from your spinach or your kale, or you can supplement it. Or I advise you do both, but you can supplement it from a bottle. Okay, these things are possible. Vicky, I have 2 fractured and compressed vertebrae. Find it hard to do things to build muscle that don't stress my back and increase my pain. Yeah, sorry you're in that position. That's really tough. Which vertebra are we talking about? And how did it happen? When I say strength training, does it have to involve weights? I use my own body for leg work as I don't have any weights. Yes, I do advise you use weights or some kind of increased resistance. Anything that adds weight to your body. We say strength training, we think barbells, dumbbells, or machines. Those are the gold standard. Those are at the top of the pile. The thing is with body weight exercises, your body will adapt to those very quickly. And unless you continually make those harder, you will not continue to reap the benefits. Now, there's a maintenance dose. You can, if at one point in time doing 10 bodyweight squats was difficult for you, but now you can do 10 no problem and feel like you could probably do 20, you might increase the dosage to 20. Okay, but there will come a point in time where 20 felt as hard as 10 does. And now you can either keep doing more squats, you could do 30, you could do 40, you could do 50. At a certain point, you just don't have any time left. 3 sets of 1,000. I can think of better ways to use your time. Get an adjustable set of dumbbells. Fill up a water can at home. I lived in Mexico for 6 months a couple of years ago. Didn't have access to a gym. They have the garrafon, right? You have to buy the big, I forget how many gallons they were, big things of water, okay? Because you can't drink the stuff that comes out of the tap. And I would just fill those up. And they were about 20 kilos each, right? A full bottle. And I used those. I had those and some resistance bands. Wasn't perfect, but it's better than nothing, okay? So yes, you should strive for some dumbbells or a kettlebell, at the very least, some resistance bands, or you get into the more technical bodyweight exercises like a single leg squat, like lunges, things that put you in a difficult position that put more emphasis on one muscle or one side versus both sides, like a single leg squat versus a bodyweight squat. But again, it depends on your starting point, depends on your goal and your access to equipment. You can have a killer bodyweight workout, but you will eventually outgrow it. I hope that makes sense. For everyone I've missed to say goodbye, I know you're not still here, but I'm sorry. Thank you for being here. No, I've just lost my place in the comments. There we go. Does this protein powder really taste like ice cream? You know what? If you mix it with milk and cool it down a bit, it's pretty good. But again, buy small, because I don't know your taste buds. My tongue is mine. Find your own flavor and see how it goes. Yeah, Zan, perimenopause and menopause women need strength training. Yeah. Everybody needs strength training. But yes, I've been in the fitness industry for 11 years. It has not been talked about enough. I got sick of seeing bollocks, lies, misinformation on social media, and I could no longer ethically be a part of it without speaking up about it. So that's why I'm here now. And this has been me for the last few years, just let's talk to women. Let's talk about menopause, because it needs more attention. More than half of the world are female. And of those, a lot will live to, menopausal age. And it needs to be discussed with less negative stigma around it. My GP told me to do at least 40 minutes of exercise 6 times a week in a certain range of beats per minute. You're looking for a new doctor. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yep. Now, your GP probably had good intentions to put you in a certain heart rate zone to burn a specific kind of energy, to burn fats, right? Your aerobic zone to burn fat. 40 minutes at least 6 times a week, at least 40 minutes of exercise 6 times a week. Yeah, but I agree with the first part. Like I think cardio and cardiovascular based exercises are great for heart health. For weight loss, they really suck. They don't burn as many calories as you want to believe. But for your heart and your lungs, they're awesome. Lower than that, the exercise doesn't count. I would have told them to F off at that point. And it seems like you did. So well done. More power to you. Let's see. Tempest, do not put protein powder in your coffee. Yeah, because it'll cook it and it tastes like crap, right? Yeah, Karen, water intake's big. Yeah, take half of your body weight. Okay, we'll take your body weight, divide it in half, whatever that number is, ounces. Okay, ounces of water per day. Spread that out throughout the day as much as you can. Add a cup of water, right, as soon as you wake up, and a cup of water about 15 minutes before every meal. Taper off your water intake towards the end of the day so you're not up all night visiting the bathroom. Okay, that's a formula you'll have to tinker with to play around with and get right. But half of your body weight in in ounces of water per day. If you have to, get a nice drink bottle that you're proud of lugging around. Spend the money if you need to. That helps you do that. Let's see. Eating slow was the hardest thing to do. It's still hard. Yeah. Which is why I generally start with it, because most people, I'm guilty of it sometimes. I eat it before I realize what it was. And you're finished and you think, wow, I've just eaten like a third more than I should have or that I wanted to. Eating slow, it lets you recognize when you're full, as well as chewing your food and beginning the digestion process properly. It will help you recognize and pay attention to your hunger and fullness signals. It takes maybe 20 minutes from the time that food gets to your stomach to for your brain to register that you've had enough food. Okay, for the hormones and processes that go along in your stomach to transfer and say, hey, we're good, you can stop there. Okay, but most people, it takes an hour to cook it. It takes 8 minutes to eat it. Slow down, chew more, and stop before you're full. Yeah, Karen, I inhale my food. Yeah, we're all guilty of it. Either rushing through the meal or being distracted while eating, or both. And I'll spend a lot of time working with people to find ways to just slow it down. Okay, chew it a minimum of 30 times. If you're eating at a crowded table, right, there's more than just you, even if it's you and a partner or a friend, like 2 people, aim to be the slowest at the table. Be the last one eating and see how that works for you. Yeah, a lot of comments on mindful chewing. Yeah. It's hard. It is hard, but it makes a difference. 3 things of the few things I harp on about the most: lift weights, eat your protein, eat your vegetables, say it right, and slow down. Slow down. Let's see. Yeah, Trina, don't inhale your Taco Bell on the way home. No, just sit in the car park. Sit in the car park and chew slowly and quietly. Enjoy the peace. Let's see. Wait, I think I finally caught up on the comments. Sheesh. Dina, suggestions for building non-existent muscles, real muscle loss. Just get started. Just if you're, I don't know how old you are, Dina. I don't know, your current activity levels. If we're talking real muscle loss, I'm assuming perimenopause, postmenopausal, perhaps, with not a long career in strength training, let's say. Just start doing some bodyweight exercises at home. Go to a gym, get a gym membership, hire a trainer, hire me. Shit, I'll take you through the process from start to finish. Okay. It's start where you are, use what you have and do what you can. For some people that use what you have is nothing. Okay. Do what you can. Do some body weight squats. Okay. Do some hip hinging exercises like a deadlift just with your body weight. Okay. Do some calf raises, right? The lower leg muscles. Do a push-up against a wall or your kitchen table, something that's not going to move. Okay. Scale the exercises. I just saw somebody say weighted vest. Yes. Get a weighted vest for Jennifer. What did your one cost? Less than $100 on Amazon? Get a weighted vest. That's a huge bonus. Add 15 pounds, 20 pounds, add 5 pounds if that's your starting point. Okay, don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Worry about what you're doing and how you can make it a little bit better. Yeah, Debbie, me too. Me too, Debbie. We're here though. We're here, all 39 of us, 40 including me. I don't know if that number counts me, but we're here. And we're going to make it a big conversation. There are people talking about this. There are a lot of people talking about this, but there are a lot more people talking about other stuff, other important subjects, right? Because strength training is important, nutrition is important, protein is important, but there are also a lot of people talking absolute rubbish, worrying, freaking people out about ingredients in the grocery store. Okay, nobody needs that. Nobody needs more fear around food or exercise. Do this or you're going to throw your back out. Do this or you're going to poison yourself. Most people can't afford to eat regularly. We don't need to scare people away from food they can't afford. Right? So yeah, more people are going to talk about menopause, and us are going to change that. I'll be doing it. Whoever's here listening, I'll be doing it. They've 2 more right here. Okay, 2 more. I have a stack at home. Tempest, if she's still here, she's going to laugh at me for getting 2 more books. But it's not something I'm going to experience. It's not firsthand anyway. So books, textbooks, courses. I have 1 menopause course on the go now, along with the other one I've already completed, and the women's coaching certification, because I realized that this was an underappreciated thing. It's not talked about enough. So, like I said, I couldn't ethically be a part of the industry without doing something about it. Let's see. Have I got everybody's question? Libby, I'm never the last at the crowded table. Yeah, that's hard. Yeah, that is hard. Just find some other person to pace yourself with. Donna, I kicked off with your question before. Does the weighted vest help? Yes. Put the weighted vest on for everything. I had a call with Jennifer a couple of days ago. She was wearing a weighted vest. I love it. And then she sends me a picture later of her daughter wearing a weighted vest while doing some presumably homework or something. And it's fantastic. Get one. If you can afford it. If it's not going to put you in a bad spot, get one. Now, I think I've addressed everything. I had a whole other piece about sleep, but I've been here for 2 hours almost, and I feel like I should hold that off for next time. Does anybody have any final questions or notes or comments that they want to add to the situation? Be here for a few more minutes. Thank you, Jennifer. Again, this is her fault, and I say that with the most love that I can. Yeah, I've been to a few of her lives now, and she's got one soon, actually, that I'm going to be on. It's Lila's fault. It's both of your fault. But I thank you so much for it. Will I be having other sessions, other lives? Yes, absolutely. This is something I want to do at least once a week. The schedule will rotate. The space I'm in now, I live rurally. I'm in next to Lake Michigan, a little island essentially. The internet connections are not awesome up here. I'm at my local library. I had to put my name a week in advance for this spot, so I can't guarantee it'll be the same time each week. But I will be doing this at least once, if not twice a week. So yeah, please come along. Bring your friends, send the link. I don't know. I'm trying to make a difference. Help me make a difference. It's a team. It takes a team. And yeah, I'm just glad you're all here. So thank you. Jennifer is an enabler. Yeah, she's the best kind. Okay, it doesn't seem like anybody has any more questions. So other than, yes, I will be doing this again. Absolutely. After this, I'm going to go reserve some spots next week. I hope I made sense, that I haven't just rambled and wasted 2 hours of your day. But I appreciate you. If I've reached out and said hello on Instagram for following along, and thank you, please know that I mean that sincerely. Yeah, I'm a 31-year-old man from New Zealand, now living in America, talking about menopause. And I'm so glad that I'm here doing it. It's the best. You're all just the best. So thank you. I'm going to end this when I find the right button. And I will see you next week, hopefully. If you haven't followed me, follow me so we can talk. Okay? Send me your questions, your problems. I'll help you solve them. Have a good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for being here.